She looked at me with that same bored expression she always had whenever she felt embarrassed by me. We were sitting in her car after grabbing coffee when she said it so casually, like she was telling me the weather forecast. "I don't bring you around my friends because, well, you don't fit my aesthetic," she said, staring straight ahead, sipping her iced latte. My chest tightened. I didn't even know how to respond. I just nodded and looked out the window, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. More than I wanted to admit. For weeks after that, I stopped trying. I stopped asking to hang out with her friends. I stopped suggesting we go to her favorite brunch spots or rooftop bars. I just pulled back. If I wasn't good enough to be seen with her friends, why keep pushing myself into her world? We still spent time together, but something shifted in me. I felt like an outsider in my own relationship, like I was just filling time until she found someone who fit her perfect little aesthetic. Then one Saturday, I decided to do something different. My friend invited me out for dinner, and I almost said no. But he insisted, telling me a few of his colleagues were joining too. So I went. I didn't dress up to impress anyone, just wore a black button-down shirt and jeans. But at that dinner, I met someone. She was sitting across the table, talking about her art projects, and her eyes sparkled when she laughed. We talked for hours, and by the end of dinner, she asked if I wanted to grab drinks nearby. That night, someone at the bar snapped a photo of us laughing together. I didn't think anything of it. But 2 weeks later, my girlfriend showed up at my apartment, tears streaming down her face. She was shaking as she held up her phone. Her friends had sent her the photo. Apparently the girl I was with was someone they all followed online, a rising influencer. My girlfriend's voice cracked as she asked, "How could you do this to me?" I just stared at her, wondering why she suddenly cared so much about what I did, when all I ever wanted was to be enough for her. And in that moment, I realized something that changed everything between us. She stood there in my doorway, breathing hard, waiting for me to say something. But I couldn't find the words. All I could think about was how, just 2 weeks ago, she told me I wasn't good enough to stand next to her friends. Now suddenly she was crying because her friends saw me with someone they actually admired. It felt like a twisted joke. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Her hair was messy like she'd been pulling at it the whole drive over. "Do you even know who she is?" she asked, her voice trembling. "She has over 500,000 followers. Everyone knows her." My friends, they were shocked. They sent me the photo asking if we broke up, and I didn't even know what to say. I stayed quiet, leaning against my kitchen counter. I watched her pace around my small living room, wiping tears from her cheeks. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Another part of me felt empty, like I was watching a stranger cry. I thought back to all those times I tried to hold her hand in public and she'd pull away. Or when we went to restaurants and she'd asked me to take her photos but never wanted one with me. She once told me I should consider dressing better if I wanted to match her vibe. She finally stopped pacing and looked at me with desperate eyes. "Did you sleep with her?" she asked. Her voice cracked on the last word. I shook my head slowly. "No. We just had dinner and drinks. That's all." But she didn't look relieved. She just looked angry. "You humiliated me," she whispered. "Do you know how embarrassing it was for them to see you with someone like her?" I felt my chest tighten again, but this time it wasn't pain. It was anger, quiet and cold. Because in that moment, I realized it wasn't about me hurting her feelings. It was about her losing control. About her friends seeing me as someone worth noticing when she'd spent months making me feel invisible. She sat down on my couch and buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. And I just stood there, watching her, feeling like I was seeing her for the very first time. I didn't know what I was supposed to say to her. All I knew was, I didn't feel sorry anymore. She kept crying into her hands, her shoulders shaking, but I couldn't move. My mind was spinning with everything that had led to this moment. I remembered how she used to tell me about her friends' boyfriends, how stylish they were, how expensive their watches looked, how they booked rooftop dinners or private beach cabins for surprise dates. She always compared me to them, even if she didn't say it outright. It was in her eyes, in the way she sighed whenever I picked her up in my old sedan instead of a sleek black SUV. She wiped her tears with her sleeves and looked up at me again. "I don't get it," she whispered. "Why her? Why would someone like her even want to spend time with you?" That question cut deeper than I expected. I could hear the disbelief in her voice, like she genuinely couldn't understand why anyone beautiful or famous would want to sit across from me at dinner and listen to my stories. But the thing is, that girl I met didn't care about my car or my clothes. She asked about my work, my hobbies, my childhood. She laughed at my dumb jokes and told me about her paintings and the charity projects she was planning. We didn't flirt much, but for the first time in months, I felt seen. My girlfriend's phone kept buzzing on the couch beside her. I could see her friends' names lighting up the screen. Maybe they were checking if she was okay, or maybe they just wanted more details about me and the girl from dinner. I didn't know. All I knew was that she wasn't crying because she missed me. She was crying because her friends finally saw me as someone worth noticing, and that ruined the version of me she kept in her head. She stared at me with red, puffy eyes, waiting for me to say something that would make it better. But I didn't have it in me to comfort her this time. The room felt heavy with everything unspoken between us. She finally stood up and walked closer, her voice shaking. "Please, tell me you still love me," she whispered. I looked at her, trying to find that feeling I used to have, the one that made me forgive her every time she put me down or ignored me. But all I felt was emptiness. She reached for my hand, but I didn't move. Her grip tightened. "They're all talking about it," she said, her voice breaking. "My friends keep asking how you even knew her. They're saying maybe you were using me to meet girls like her. They're making fun of me, saying I lost you to someone way out of my league." Her words hung in the air like poison. I realized she didn't care that I was happy for the first time in months. She only cared that her friends were laughing at her. That was her real pain, not losing me, but losing the status she built by dating someone she thought was beneath her. She pulled me closer and pressed her forehead against my chest, crying harder. "Please, just tell them it was nothing. Tell them you still love me." I felt my heart pounding, not with love, but with anger and a strange sense of freedom. Because right then, with her crying in my arms for all the wrong reasons, I knew this was the moment everything would change. But what I was about to say would destroy every illusion she ever had about us. I took a deep breath, feeling her tears soak into my shirt. For a moment, I almost gave in. I almost told her what she wanted to hear just to end this. But then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a message from the girl I met at dinner. She texted, "Hey, I just finished the piece I was telling you about. Want to come by my studio tomorrow to see it?" My girlfriend saw the name on my screen and froze. She pulled back, her eyes darting across my face. "You're still talking to her?" she whispered, her voice turning sharp. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She stepped away from me, wiping her tears roughly. "So that's what this is. You're leaving me for her, aren't you?" I shook my head slowly. "This isn't about her," I said quietly. "It's about me. About how you made me feel every single day." But before she could respond, there was a sudden knock at my door. She jumped, startled. I frowned, confused, and walked over to open it. Standing there was her best friend, the one she always talked about, the one who constantly posted photos of them at brunch. She glanced at my girlfriend, then looked straight at me. "Can we talk?" she said, her voice low. My girlfriend's face went pale. "Why are you here?" she snapped, but her friend ignored her and stepped inside. She turned to me, her eyes serious. "I need to tell you something about her. About what she's been saying behind your back. It's important." My heart started pounding as I looked between them. Her friend's expression was cold and determined. I knew whatever she was about to say was going to change everything, and it wouldn't be something I could unhear. Her friend looked straight at me, ignoring my girlfriend's panicked glare. "She's been lying to you," she said quietly. My girlfriend shook her head quickly. "Don't listen to her, she's just jealous," she snapped, her voice trembling. But her friend didn't stop. "She's been talking about you behind your back for months. She told us you were just a temporary thing until she found someone better. She used to laugh about how desperate you were to impress her. She said dating you made her look humble and relatable online." My chest tightened as her words sank in. I turned to my girlfriend, who was now shaking her head, tears streaming down her cheeks again. "That's not true," she whispered, but her voice was too soft, too broken to sound convincing. Her friend took a deep breath. "She even said she'd never let you meet us because you didn't look good enough for her page. But after that photo of you with someone famous, everything changed. Now she's scared to lose you because suddenly, you're the one with status." I felt something in me snap. All those nights I lay awake wondering why I wasn't enough. All those times she made me feel small, like I was lucky she even looked at me. My girlfriend stepped forward, grabbing my arm desperately. "Please, baby, don't listen to her. I love you, I swear. You're everything to me." But before I could say anything, her friend spoke again, her voice lower this time. "There's one more thing. She told us about the job offer you got overseas. The one you turned down for her. She said it was pathetic how you gave up your dreams just to stay with her." My girlfriend's eyes widened in horror. In that moment, I realized the final twist. The job offer was still open, and I was no longer staying here for anyone. She stood there frozen, her tears falling silently as her friend's words echoed in the room. I felt my chest rise and fall with a strange sense of calm. All those months I thought I was the weak one for loving her so deeply, when in reality, I was strong enough to keep giving despite how she treated me. But I realized then that loving her had cost me so much, my confidence, my sleep, and almost my future. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. "Please, don't leave me. I promise I'll change. I'll introduce you to everyone. We can travel together. I'll support you with anything you want to do. Just, please don't go." Her hands trembled as she reached for me, but I gently stepped back. Her friend stood by the door, looking at her with pity, and then at me with quiet understanding. I thought about the job offer overseas, about the life I almost gave up just to be near her. I thought about the girl I met at dinner, who saw me as a person with dreams and stories worth sharing. And I thought about myself, the version of me that felt small every time I was with my girlfriend, and the version of me that laughed freely at dinner with a stranger who had no expectations attached to my existence. Taking a deep breath, I looked at her one last time. "You don't love me," I said softly. "You love how I made you feel about yourself. And I can't be that for you anymore." Her sobs grew louder as I picked up my phone and wallet from the counter. Her friend stepped aside to let me pass, giving me a sad smile as I walked out the door. Outside, the air felt lighter than it had in months. I pulled out my phone and opened the email about the job offer. My hands didn't even shake as I replied, accepting the opportunity one should have never rejected. As I walked down the street towards my car, I felt my heart settle for the first time in a long while. I realized it wasn't her opinion or her friend's approval I needed. It was my own. And sometimes, walking away from someone who doesn't see your worth is the first step towards becoming the person you were meant to be.